Today, we're tackling something that's literally all around us, inside us even, but we probably don't give it nearly enough thought.
That's right. It's so fundamental, so everyday. We're talking about water.
Simple H2O. But the more we looked into this, the clearer it became that understanding hydration, really understanding it, might be one of the most powerful health levers you can pull.
It really is. It's kind of the ultimate health paradox, isn't it? Our
Yeah.
bodies are mostly water, 60, 70% sometimes, yet so many of us are just walking around in a state of, well, mild dehydration.
And feeling the effects without even realizing why. That headache, the afternoon slump.
Exactly. Symptoms we blame on stress or lack of sleep or needing more coffee, when often the root cause is much simpler, just not enough water.
So our goal with this deep dive is basically to give you the shortcut. We want to unpack the genuinely life-changing benefits hidden in just drinking enough water consistently every day.
Yeah, moving beyond just drink water, it's good for you.
Right.
We want to get into the why. Why is it so critical?
What's actually happening inside your body when you're properly hydrated versus when you're not?
And the big picture here, really, is seeing water as the body's absolute fuel line, or maybe the operating system.
I like that. The utility grid, maybe.
Yeah, the utility grid. Every single cell, every tissue, every organ, from your brain thinking right now to the muscles in your toes, they all depend on it.
And if that grid doesn't have enough supply.
The whole engine just runs sluggishly. Things start to slow down, sometimes silently at first.
Okay, let's dive into the absolute basics first. Section 1, the foundation, survival, and energy. And the starkest way to frame this is survival, isn't it?
It really is. It puts everything in perspective. Think about it. Humans can, remarkably, survive for weeks without food, maybe even longer in some cases.
Right, there are documented cases of that.
But without water, you're looking at just a few days, maybe 3 or 4, tops, depending on conditions.
That difference is huge. It tells you immediately where water sits in the body's hierarchy of needs.
Absolutely. It's non-negotiable for life. And that's because water isn't just passively there. It's actively involved in, well, pretty much everything that keeps us alive.
You mentioned 4 critical functions it performs. Let's break those down because they're happening constantly right now for everyone listening.
Constantly, 24/7. Okay, so number 1, regulating body temperature. Thermoregulation. Water absorbs heat from your muscles during activity and releases it through sweat, preventing you from overheating. It's your internal cooling system.
Okay, temperature control. What's next?
Number 2, nutrient delivery. Water is the main component of blood plasma. It dissolves essential nutrients, oxygen, hormones, and transports them to every cell in your body. It's the delivery truck.
Makes sense. Delivery in.
And number 3, waste removal. The flip side, it dissolves metabolic waste products like urea and carries them away from cells to the kidneys and liver for disposal. It's the sanitation system.
So transport and cleanup.
Yeah.
Crucial. And the 4th?
Number 4, and this one's often overlooked, maintaining cell structure and organ function. Water gives cells their shape, their turgor. It lubricates joints, cushions organs like the brain and spinal cord. It keeps everything working with, like, structural integrity.
Wow. So temperature, delivery, cleanup, and structure, if any of those fail.
This system starts to break down very quickly. If you compromise water levels, you compromise all 4 of those critical life-sustaining jobs simultaneously. The body has to start making tough choices.
Which brings us to this idea, you mentioned the silent shutdown. What happens when water becomes insufficient? It's not like a switch flicks off instantly, right?
No, not at all. It's much more insidious. The body is incredibly smart. It's designed for survival above all else. So when water volume starts to drop, it initiates a prioritized conservation strategy. It starts rationing.
Rationing. Where does it pull water from first? Does it just take it from everywhere equally?
No, there's a hierarchy. It needs to protect the most vital functions. So it primarily tries to maintain blood volume. That's critical for keeping blood pressure up, ensuring the heart can pump, and keeping oxygen flowing to the brain.
Okay, so blood volume is priority number 1.
Absolutely. To maintain that, the body will start pulling water from less immediately critical areas. It'll pull from the water between your cells, the interstitial fluid, and even from the water inside your cells, the intracellular fluid.
It sacrifices those reserves to keep the blood flowing.
Precisely. It prioritizes the circulation needed for the heart and brain over, say, optimal digestion or perfectly plump skin cells, at least in the short term.
So to keep those master organs online, it starts dialing back on other processes it deems, well, less essential at that exact moment.
Exactly. And that's where we feel the effects. Often without connecting the dots, we feel fatigue. Why? because cellular energy production making ATP requires water. Less water, less energy. Simple as that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Digestion slows down. The body conserves water there, leading to issues we'll discuss later.
Right.
And that classic symptom, brain fog. Trouble concentrating, feeling a bit fuzzy. That's often because the brain, while prioritized, is still feeling the effects of reduced fluid and potentially slightly altered electrolyte balance. It's focusing on survival functions over higher-level cognition.
These are all those subtle early warning signs that your internal system is running on reserve power, basically.
That's a great way to put it, running on reserves.
Okay, let's link that directly to everyday life then. Boosting energy and fighting that fatigue that so many people complain about. We reach for coffee, energy drinks, but maybe the answer is simpler.
Very often, yes. Mild dehydration, and we're talking even just a 1 or 2% loss of body weight in water, is a super common, yet frequently missed, cause of that general sluggishness.
1 or 2% doesn't sound like much.
It doesn't, but the body is sensitive. That small drop is often enough to trigger noticeable fatigue, sometimes tension headaches, definitely that difficulty focusing, especially, mid-morning or mid-afternoon.
You feel tired because, as you said, the actual mechanics inside your cells are compromised.
Yes. It goes right down to how we make energy from food. Can we walk through that mechanism a bit?
Please do. The cellular level conversion process.
Okay. So the food we eat, carbs, fats, proteins, needs to be broken down into smaller molecules the body can use. Many of these breakdown reactions involve something called hydrolysis. Hydrolysis literally means splitting with water.
Ah, so water is actively involved in the chemical breakdown.
Actively involved. It's a reactant, but it doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
The final stages of energy production, creating that molecule ATP, which is like the body's energy currency, that happens inside tiny organelles called mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cell.
Exactly. And for those mitochondria to work efficiently, especially the complex machinery called the electron transport chain, they need a specific environment, a fluid, properly balanced environment with the right electrolytes.
So if there isn't enough water,
the whole ATP production line slows down. The efficiency drops. The powerhouses aren't running at full capacity.
that's a really powerful image. It's like trying to run a factory with low voltage. Everything still works, maybe, but it's slow, inefficient, struggling.
Precisely. You're forcing your cellular machinery, your mitochondria, to work much harder to produce the same amount of energy. Or, more likely, they just produce less energy overall.
And that leads directly to that feeling of just heavy physical fatigue that doesn't seem linked to anything specific.
That's often a huge contributor, yes. It's your body literally running low on fuel at the most fundamental level.
Okay, so here's a practical takeaway then. A potential aha moment for everyone listening. Try this tomorrow morning. Before you reach for the coffee, before anything else, drink a big glass of plain water. Maybe 16 ounces, half a liter.
Yes, do it. The evidence suggests this can actually wake you up more effectively than that first coffee sometimes.
Really? Why is that?
Well, think about it. You haven't had anything to drink for, say, 6, 7, 8 hours overnight, but you've still been losing water through breathing, maybe slight perspiration, even if you aren't hot.
Right, you exhale water vapor.
Exactly. So you naturally wake up in a state of mild dehydration. You're starting the day already in a deficit.
Oh.
That glass of water first thing, it immediately starts reversing that overnight deficit. It gets those 4 critical functions we talked about: temperature regulation, nutrient delivery, waste removal, cell structure back up to speed instantly.
It sort of kickstarts the system.
It floods the system with the medium needed for that ATP energy production we just discussed. And there's even a small effect called water-induced thermogenesis. Your body has to expend a tiny bit of energy to warm that water up to body temperature.
Oh, interesting.
It's not a huge calorie burn, but it's another signal to your metabolism to kind of wake up and get going for the day.
So replenishing fluids, boosting energy production, maybe even a tiny metabolic nudge. That's quite a lot from just one glass of water.
It really is. Simple, but effective.
That's a great transition into our next section, the internal maintenance systems. Because if energy production is sluggish due to lack of water, it makes sense that other major systems start to struggle too, right? Especially ones that need things to flow smoothly.
Absolutely. They're all interconnected. Let's start with the gut digestion and waste management.
Okay. How critical is water here?
Fundamentally critical. Digestion is an incredibly water-intensive process from start to finish. It has a dual role right away. First, in the stomach and small intestine, digestive enzymes need water to work properly. They need a fluid environment to mix with food and chemically break it down. Think hydrolysis again.
Okay, needed for the breakdown.
Second, and maybe even more importantly for getting value from your food, is nutrient absorption. Once food is broken down into small molecules, amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, they need to be absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream.
And water is the transport medium for that.
Water is essential for that transport. It carries these dissolved nutrients across the gut lining. If your blood volume is low because you're dehydrated,
Absorption becomes less efficient.
exactly, absorption efficiency tanks. You could be eating the most nutritious, expensive diet in the world.
But if you're not hydrated enough, you're not actually getting all the goodness out of it.
You're leaving benefits on the table, quite literally.
Yeah.
You're inefficiently extracting the value.
That's a sobering thought for anyone focused on nutrition.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the other end of the process, waste management. Specifically, preventing constipation. This is something almost everyone experiences at some point. And dehydration is a major, major cause.
We talked about the body rationing water earlier. Is this where the gut kind of loses out?
This is exactly where the gut loses the battle for water. Remember the hierarchy. Blood volume for the heart and brain wins.
Right.
The large intestine's main job, besides forming stool, is actually to reabsorb water back into the body. It's a water reclamation center. When the body senses systemic dehydration, low overall water levels, it sends a strong signal to the colon. Be extra efficient. Reclaim as much water as physically possible.
So it starts pulling water out of the waste material that's forming.
Ruthlessly. It pulls fluid from the stool to help maintain that critical blood plasma volume. Survival function overrides digestive comfort.
That sounds unpleasant.
It leads directly to the common problem. The waste material becomes dry, hard, and difficult to pass,
Resulting in constipation.
resulting in constipation, bloating, abdominal discomfort, that feeling of being backed up.
So for listeners experiencing those kinds of common digestive issues,
The very first thing to check before reaching for laxatives or fiber supplements even is your hydration status.
Yeah.
Are you consistently drinking enough water throughout the day? Often, simply increasing fluid intake can resolve these issues because it allows the stool to remain softer and move more easily. The system just needs better lubrication.
good advice. Okay, let's shift from the gut to the engine room itself, supporting the heart and circulation. This was fascinating in the research, how water directly impacts the heart's workload. Can you explain the mechanics of that? How does dehydration affect blood flow?
Yeah, this is really critical for long-term cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
It comes down to blood viscosity or thickness. The average adult has about 5 liters, maybe a bit more, of blood circulating. A large portion of that blood is water, the plasma.
Okay.
When you become dehydrated, the water component of your blood decreases. The plasma volume drops. But the number of red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, proteins, the solid component stays the same, at least initially.
So the ratio changes, less liquid, same amount of solids?
Exactly. The blood becomes more concentrated, more viscous, thicker, like trying to pump syrup instead of water.
That sounds like it would be harder work.
It is much harder work for the heart. We call this state increased hematocrit. This thicker blood encounters more resistance as it tries to flow through your blood vessels, especially the tiny capillaries. Think about pushing thick liquid through a narrow tube versus thin liquid.
Right, more friction.
More friction, more resistance. This is called increased peripheral resistance. To overcome this resistance and maintain adequate blood flow and pressure to deliver oxygen to all your organs, your heart muscle has to contract more forcefully. It has to physically pump harder.
Day in, day out if you're chronically dehydrated.
Day in, day out. Even mild dehydration forces your heart to work significantly harder with every beat.
How significant is that extra workload over time? Does it really make a difference long term?
Oh, absolutely. It's profoundly significant. Think about adding extra weight to every single lift you do in the gym forever. That sustained, unnecessary workload puts constant strain on the heart muscle itself and on the walls of your arteries. Over time, this chronic increase in the pressure needed to move blood, what we call mean arterial pressure, or MAP, is strongly linked in large, long-term studies to developing stiffened arteries and chronic high blood pressure, or hypertension.
Wow. So staying hydrated isn't just about feeling good. It's literally taking a load off your heart.
It's like making sure your car engine always has the best quality, thinnest, most slippery oil. It reduces wear and tear on the pump.
Every sip is helping your heart work more efficiently and potentially reducing long-term risks.
It's direct, preventative cardiovascular maintenance. Simple as that.
Okay, heart health checked. Let's move to the body's filtration system, the kidneys. Water is obviously key here for flushing out toxins and supporting kidney health. How do they actually use water?
The kidneys are just incredible filtration units. Think of them as the body's master water treatment plant. They filter a huge amount of blood every single day, something like 120 to 150 quarts.
That's enormous.
It is. And their primary way of getting rid of the waste products filtered from that blood is by dissolving them in water to create urine. They rely entirely on having sufficient water available to dissolve metabolic wastes like urea, excess salts, creatinine, and other toxins into a dilute solution that can be safely excreted.
So if you don't drink enough water.
The kidneys are forced into a difficult situation.
Yeah.
They still need to get rid of the waste, but
Yeah.
they also need to conserve water for the rest of the body, because remember that hierarchy.
Right, blood volume first.
So they produce much more concentrated urine. They use less water to dissolve the same amount of waste.
Which means the concentration of those waste products in the urine goes way up.
Skyrockets.
Yeah.
And that's the core problem leading to potential kidney issues. When urine becomes highly concentrated, those dissolved mineral salts and waste products, particularly things like calcium oxalate, a common component, are much more likely to precipitate out of the solution.
Precipitate, like they become solid.
Exactly. They crystallize, they start clumping together.
And those clumps are kidney stones.
That's how kidney stones form. Those crystals aggregate into larger stones. Insufficient water intake is probably the single biggest risk factor for developing painful kidney stones.
So drinking plenty of water keeps the urine dilute.
It keeps those waste products dissolved in solution so they can be flushed out easily and don't get a chance to crystallize and clump together.
Consistent, adequate hydration is basically the best defense against kidney stones.
It's the body's primary natural defense mechanism. We often tell people, look at your urine color.
Yeah.
Pale, straw-colored, dilute urine. That's a sign your kidneys are happy, well hydrated, and doing their job efficiently. Dark yellow or amber. That's a warning sign they're struggling to conserve water.
Okay, we've covered survival, energy, digestion, heart health, kidney function, the deep internal stuff. Let's shift gears now to section 3. The benefits people often chase more actively: performance, appearance, focus.
Right, the things you notice more immediately day to day.
Let's start with a big one: sharpening focus and improving mood. You mentioned brain fog earlier. How directly does hydration impact the brain?
Incredibly directly.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you know the numbers. The brain is astonishingly water-rich. Estimates vary slightly, but it's around 73–75% water. It's basically bathing in fluid,
Wow, 3/4 water.
which means it's immediately sensitive to changes in hydration levels. The fluid environment is critical for its function.
And the research mentions something pretty startling, that dehydration can actually cause the brain to shrink physically, temporarily.
Yes, that's been shown in imaging studies. When you're dehydrated, the overall fluid volume in the skull decreases slightly. This includes the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, that cushions the brain. It can cause the brain tissue itself to pull away slightly from the skull, which might contribute to that dehydration headache some people get.
Okay, that physical change is one thing. But how does it disrupt actual thinking and mood?
It disrupts function on a couple of levels. First, remember those electrolytes we mentioned for energy production? Sodium, potassium. Neurons' brain cells rely on a very precise balance of these electrolytes inside and outside the cell to generate electrical signals and communicate with each other across synapses.
The nerve impulses.
Exactly. When you're dehydrated, that delicate electrolyte balance can get thrown off. Water shifts can change the concentration of these ions. This disrupts the normal firing patterns of neurons. Communication becomes less efficient, slower.
And that's the physical basis for brain fog. The signals just aren't transmitting optimally.
That's a huge part of it. It's not just a feeling, it's a measurable slowing down of synaptic transmission because the chemical and fluid environment isn't quite right.
Makes sense.
Studies consistently show that even mild dehydration, that 1–2% level again, demonstrably affects cognitive performance. Things like short-term memory recall, reaction time, attention span, complex problem solving, they all take a hit.
And mood, too. You mentioned irritability earlier.
Yes, very strongly linked. That same 1–2% dehydration level is also associated with increased feelings of anxiety, tension, and irritability. Your emotional regulation seems to be tied to your hydration status, too.
So that afternoon crankiness might not just be low blood sugar or work stress.
It could very well be exacerbated or even primarily caused by needing a glass of water.
Okay, strategic choice then becomes obvious. That 3 p.m. slump hits, you feel foggy, maybe a bit grumpy. Instead of reaching for the sugary snack or another coffee.
Grab a tall glass of water first. Seriously. Rehydrate that 75% water brain. Give it the fluid it needs to optimize those neural pathways again. You might be surprised how much difference it makes.
You're literally refueling the thinking machine.
Exactly. Optimizing the operating environment.
All right, let's pivot from the brain to the body's surface. Glowing skin. People spend fortunes on creams and serums, but the research suggests true skin health starts from within, right? With hydration.
Absolutely. The skin is our largest organ, and it's got huge demands for maintenance and repair. Water is non-negotiable for healthy skin for two main reasons.
Okay, what are they?
First, detoxification. We talk about kidneys, flush, and waste. If the kidneys and liver aren't working optimally due to dehydration, the body might try to eliminate some toxins through the skin via sweat.
Leading to problems.
Yes, that can contribute to inflammation, dullness, clogged pores, breakouts. Adequate hydration supports the primary detoxification pathways, kidneys and liver helping to keep the skin clear because the waste is going out the right channels.
Okay, so clearing things up. What's the second reason?
The second is structural, elasticity and plumpness. Think of skin cells like tiny water balloons. Water is critical for maintaining the turgor, the fullness and firmness of the dermal layer, the deeper layer of the skin.
Right.
It helps hydrate the key structural proteins in the skin, like collagen and elastin, which give skin its bounce and resilience.
So when you're dehydrated,
Those skin cells become deflated, like slightly saggy balloons. The skin loses its plumpness, appears duller, drier, and fine lines and wrinkles become much more apparent.
so that desirable healthy glow people talk about.
It's largely a reflection of good internal hydration. It's cellular hydration radiating outwards.
You can slather on the most expensive moisturizer.
But if the cells underneath are dehydrated, you won't get that truly vibrant, resilient look. Proper hydration ensures good blood flow to the skin, delivering nutrients, removing waste, and keeping those cells plump and happy.
It results in skin that just looks healthier, softer, smoother, more radiant.
It's basically the cheapest and most effective beauty product there is. Drink your water.
Okay, message received on skin. Now let's talk about movement keeping joints and muscles healthy. This is relevant for athletes, obviously, but also just for anyone who feels stiff or achy sometimes. You described water as the oil for our moving parts.
That's a great analogy. Think about your joints, knees, hips, shoulders. They're cushioned by cartilage.
Right.
And that cartilage is mostly water. Its spongy, shock-absorbing quality depends heavily on being well hydrated. Furthermore, the joints themselves are lubricated by something called synovial fluid, which allows the bones to glide smoothly over each other.
And that fluid is mostly water, too.
Primarily water, yes. So if you're dehydrated, the cartilage can become less resilient, less cushiony, and the synovial fluid can become less plentiful or perhaps slightly thicker, increasing friction between the bones.
Leading to that feeling of stiffness, maybe even joint pain.
It can definitely contribute.
Yeah.
You're essentially increasing the mechanical wear and tear on your joints if they're not properly lubricated and cushioned.
Okay, that covers joints. What about muscles? How does hydration affect them?
Water is vital for muscle function too. Muscle tissue itself is also very high in water content, around 75%. When muscle cells are well hydrated, they maintain their optimal volume and shape. This is important for proper muscle contraction and relaxation.
And for recovery after exercise.
Absolutely. Good hydration is essential for efficient protein synthesis, which is how muscles repair and rebuild after stress. Plus, remember the waste removal aspect. Water helps flush out metabolic byproducts generated during exercise, like lactic acid, which can contribute to soreness.
So this connects directly to performance during a workout and recovery after.
Directly. Let's talk about cramps first. One of the most common causes of those sudden, painful muscle cramps during or after exercise is an electrolyte imbalance, often caused by losing fluids and electrolytes through sweat without adequately replacing them. Dehydration exacerbates this imbalance.
Okay.
Staying properly hydrated helps maintain that stable electrolyte concentration, sodium, potassium, magnesium, that muscle fibers need to contract and relax smoothly.
So fewer cramps, what else?
Better flexibility, potentially. Muscles work better when hydrated, reduced risk of injury perhaps, and definitely speedier muscle recovery post-workout because, as we said, waste products are cleared more efficiently and the repair processes have the fluid environment they need.
So for anyone active, hydration isn't just about first, it's fundamental to performance and recovery.
Fundamental. Non-negotiable for optimal physical activity.
Okay, one last point in this section. We touched on it earlier, but let's revisit regulating body temperature, specifically in the context of performance or heat. We know sweating cools us down. How does hydration level impact how well that system works?
It impacts the efficiency of the cooling system profoundly. The mechanism, as you said, is sweating. When sweat evaporates from your skin, it takes heat energy with it. That's evaporative cooling.
Yeah.
Simple physics.
Right.
But for that system to work well, two things need to happen efficiently. You need to produce enough sweat, and that sweat needs to evaporate effectively. Water is key to producing sweat. However, if you become significantly dehydrated, your body faces that conflict again. Conserve water versus cool down.
And survival conserving water often wins.
It tries to balance, but yes, to protect core functions and maintain blood pressure, the body will actually reduce blood flow to the skin surface when dehydrated.
Wait, it reduces blood flow to the skin, but isn't that where the heat needs to go to escape?
Exactly. It's throttling its own cooling system. Less blood flow to the skin means less heat is transported from your core muscles to the surface, where it can be released via sweat evaporation.
So even if you are still sweating, it's less effective at cooling your core.
Much less effective. Your core temperature can start to climb much more rapidly, even if you don't feel like you've stopped sweating completely.
And that increases the risk of
Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and just generally fatigue setting in much faster during exercise or in hot weather. Proper hydration ensures your body can maintain adequate blood flow to the skin and produce sufficient sweat, allowing the cooling system to work at peak efficiency. It's critical for thermal safety.
Okay, powerful stuff. Let's move into our final section, strategic application and takeaways. How can listeners use this knowledge? Let's start with something that motivates a lot of people, helping with weight loss naturally. Water seems to offer a few advantages here.
It definitely does, and they're quite straightforward but effective. The simplest one we touched on is appetite suppression through volume.
Drinking water before meals.
Exactly. The strategy is typically drink a decent amount of water, say 16 ounces or about half a liter, maybe 20-30 minutes before you plan to eat. This physically fills up space in your stomach.
Triggering fullness signals.
It triggers stretch receptors in the stomach wall, which send signals to your brain saying, hey, we're getting full down here. This can significantly reduce feelings of hunger and lead you to naturally consume fewer calories during the actual meal without feeling deprived.
It's like a zero-calorie appetizer that helps with portion control.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Simple, effective, costs nothing.
Okay, volume control is one. What about metabolism? Does water actually boost metabolism?
Yes, there's evidence for that through that process we mentioned earlier. Water-induced thermogenesis.
Right, the body burning calories to warm the water.
Correct. When you drink water, especially if it's cooler than body temperature, your body has to expend metabolic energy burn calories to heat that water up to 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 Celsius.
How much of a boost are we talking?
Studies suggest it can temporarily increase your resting metabolic rate by maybe 24 to 30%.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
Well, the duration is key. That boost lasts for about 40 to 60 minutes after drinking the water. So the total number of extra calories burned per glass isn't massive, maybe 10-20 calories depending on the water volume and temperature.
Okay, so not a magic bullet on its own.
Not a magic bullet, no. But if you consistently drink water throughout the day, those small boosts can add up over time. It's a contributing factor, not the whole solution.
So volume control, a small metabolic boost.
Yeah.
What's the third advantage for weight management?
The third, and arguably the most impactful one long-term, is calorie replacement.
Swapping out sugary drinks for water.
This is the big win. Think about sodas, sweetened juices, fancy coffee drinks, energy drinks. They're often loaded with sugar and empty calories.
Hundreds of calories sometimes.
Easily. A single 20-ounce bottle of soda can have over 250 calories, mostly from sugar. If you simply replace one of those drinks per day with plain water, you eliminate those 250 calories. That's over 1,750 calories saved per week. Almost 90,000 calories per year.
Wow, just from one swap.
Just from one simple swap. That caloric deficit, sustained over time, can absolutely lead to significant weight loss or prevent weight gain without any other changes.
Plus, you're dishing the sugar and artificial ingredients.
Exactly. It's a massive win for overall health, not just weight. Removing liquid sugar is one of the best things you can do.
Okay, super practical advice there. Now let's tackle the question everyone asks. How much water do we actually need, that magic number?
Yes, the infamous 8x8 rule.
8 glasses, 8 ounces each, roughly 2 liters or half a gallon. Is that actually right?
That's a decent starting point, a very general guideline. But honestly, as a universal prescription, it's pretty flawed.
Why flawed?
Because our individual water needs vary hugely based on a whole range of factors. It's not one size fits all.
Like what factors?
Okay, body size and composition is a big one.
Hmm.
A larger person generally needs more water than a smaller person. Activity level is crucial. If you're exercising intensely and sweating a lot, your needs skyrocket compared to someone sedentary.
Makes sense.
Climate. Living in a hot, humid, or even a very dry climate increases water loss through sweat and respiration. Diet plays a role, too. If you eat a lot of water-rich foods, fruits, vegetables, soups, you get a significant amount of hydration from your food, so you might need less liquid water.
Right. Watermelon, cucumber, oranges.
Exactly. They contribute. And then things like overall health, illness, pregnancy, breastfeeding, they all impact fluid needs.
So that static 8 glasses number doesn't account for any of that variability.
Not really. Some health organizations suggest more tailored guidelines, like aiming for half an ounce to 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight.
Okay, let's do the math. For a 150-pound person, that's 75 to 150 ounces. That's potentially way more than 64 ounces.
It often is, especially for active people or those in warm climates. 150 ounces is over a gallon.
So the 8 by 8 rule might actually be underhydrating many people.
It certainly could be for many individuals. It's probably better seen as an absolute bare minimum for a sedentary person in a temperate climate eating an average diet.
So if there's no single magic number, how do we know how much we personally need?
This is where the real skill comes in. The ultimate guide isn't a chart or a formula. It's learning to listen to your own body.
Tuning into its signals.
Exactly. Your body is incredibly good at telling you what it needs, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as water. We just need to learn to recognize and heed the signals early.
Before things get bad, what are those key warning signs we should be looking for? The non-negotiable signals that say, drink water NW.
Okay, number one is obvious, but surprisingly often ignored. Feeling thirsty.
Thirst itself is a signal.
Thirst is actually a late signal. By the time you feel noticeably thirsty, you are likely already 1–2% dehydrated. Your body is already playing catch-up.
Wow. So don't wait for thirst if you can help it.
Ideally, no. Drink proactively throughout the day to prevent thirst. But if you feel thirsty, definitely drink immediately.
Okay. What else besides thirst?
Look for physical signs. Dry mouth, dry lips, that feeling of stickiness, that's reduced saliva production, a clear sign of needing fluid.
Makes sense.
Headaches, especially tension-type headaches, can often be triggered or worsened by dehydration. Feeling unusually fatigued or sluggish, as we discussed. Difficulty concentrating. Maybe feeling dizzy or lightheaded, especially when standing up quickly.
Okay, those are more subjective. Is there an objective measure we can easily check?
Yes, the best objective at-home indicator is urine color and frequency.
We talked about color earlier. Dark means concentrated.
Dark yellow or amber-colored urine is a very clear sign that your kidneys are conserving water and you need to drink more. You're aiming for consistently pale, straw-colored urine. Clear is okay too, but consistently clear might mean you're slightly overdoing it, potentially flushing out too many electrolytes. Pale yellow is the sweet spot.
And frequency, going less often.
Yes, if you realize you haven't needed to pee for several hours, that's another sign your body might be holding on to fluid. Well-hydrated people typically need to urinate every 2–4 hours or so during the day.
So thirst, dry mouth, headache, fatigue, focus issues, and crucially urine color and frequency. Those are the body's dashboard lights for hydration.
Beautifully put. Learn to read your dashboard.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all of this as we wrap up. We started with water, something seemingly simple, almost boring.
Right, ubiquitous.
But we've unpacked its absolutely massive impact across the board. From the nitty-gritty of cellular energy production, ATP,
to the macro level of keeping your heart pumping efficiently, your kidneys filtering waste, your brain firing clearly.
Your skin looking healthy, your joints moving smoothly, your body temperature stable.
The list just goes on and on. It touches literally every system.
And the takeaway seems to be that the gap between just feeling okay or getting by and feeling truly energized, focused, and optimally healthy.
That gap can often be significantly narrowed just by paying consistent attention to hydration. It's that fundamental.
We've seen that even mild chronic dehydration puts cumulative stress on the system. It forces the body into that low-grade conservation mode,
leading to that silent shutdown of optimal function. The real power, then, isn't just drinking when you're parched. It's making adequate hydration a proactive, conscious, daily habit, supporting your body before it has to send out those distress signals.
So the final call to action is exactly that. Hydrate proactively. Don't wait for thirst. Don't wait until your body is forced to pull water from your gut or shrink your brain cells slightly. Make a commitment to consistently giving your body the fluid it needs to perform all those incredible vital functions we spent this time discussing.
And that leads us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to really chew on. We established right at the beginning how critical water is for survival, just days without it. And we talk about how the body starts silently shutting down processes like memory, digestion, energy production when it's even mildly dehydrated. So consider this. What's the cumulative effect, day after day, week after week, of ignoring those seemingly small early warning signs? That fleeting headache you dismiss, that dip in focus you blame on a boring meeting, that slight constipation you just live with. What if those aren't just minor annoyances? What if they are persistent signals of deeper cellular stress? What critical function inside you right now might be running just a little bit slower, a little less efficiently, simply because the fundamental medium of life water is in slightly short supply?
A provocative question indeed. Something to think about next time you reach for a drink. Stay hydrated, stay informed, and thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Farewell.